We've had to block numerous apps from use just because they lead to inappropriate content or inappropriate behavior. So I'd say the fact that technology is changing so quickly is a huge one for us, and trying to inform children that just because they can do something doesn't mean they should. Just because you can use this app to create something that you think is funny doesn't mean you should do it. So it's the constant reinforcement of think about what you're going to do before you do it.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kathleen Hermsmeyer. I am the superintendent of the Springs Charter Schools Network. We operate 21 K-12 student locations operating in Southern California across 5 counties.
Hello, my name is Jim Coombs. I'm from Lowell Joint School District. We are about 30 minutes north of Anaheim, Disneyland. We are in 2 cities, La Habra, Orange County, Whittier, LA County. We have 3,100 students spread across 5 elementaries and 1 junior high.
Good morning. My name is Mary Duan. I'm the Director of Communications and Community Outreach for the Salinas City Elementary School District in beautiful Monterey County. We have about 8,400 students spread out through 15 schools, and we are the largest elementary school district in the county.
How have you been successful in increasing parent engagement to help keep students safe on social media?
I think parents are extremely concerned about social media, and rightly so. 20 years ago, everybody was concerned about teenage pregnancy. People were concerned about teenage violence and the kid getting beaten up on a Saturday night or something. Now, the big concern is anxiety, depression, and teenage suicide, not any of those other things. All of this revolves around social media. Social media is a way that our teenagers can feel really bad about themselves because already they're in that time of their lives where they doubt themselves and there's great conflict in their hearts and they don't know whether they're good enough or where they're going and what's happening. And, it just preys upon every insecurity that they have as a burgeoning adult, right? And so I think the parents are very hungry for information and we provide it, and we definitely work hand in hand with our parents. We do trainings on the regular, bring them in. The Go Guardian alerts us, and it alerts us when there's any kind of bullying conversations, even if they're not related to our school, but if it's on our device. And we can just call the parent and say, hey, we got an alert. You need to go and talk to your child. I have not heard of one parent who has been negative about getting that information. They're always very thankful to be told this information and be looped in. It's a tough time of life, the teenage years.
That has actually gone pretty well. Again, we've got 4 or 5. Each school has 1, and then we have a couple of the district office that they help keep a tab on all the social media that's there, and they help to insert the positive things and correct the things that are confusing. So by giving preemptively to the parents and saying, here's how we use social media, here's how you need to be cautious, here are scams that are out there. We want you to be well informed. We want you and your child to be well informed. We're trying to help them be better consumers of social media, better consumers of technology. We have had a lot of scams come through, so we keep farming that stuff out to say, hey, here's examples. Therefore, make wise decisions of where you're at. Make wise decisions of what you allow them to use. But it is an ever-evolving process. Our younger teachers know how to do it. They're not immigrants to the program. They're natives to how it works. Some of us are immigrants, and so we're immigrating to how to use this and how to best function with it.
Oh, that's a great question. Each school has a parent coordinator. We have 2 family resource centers, and one of the most important things our family resource centers do is to reach out to parents with educational opportunities. We have a local psychologist who does weekly seminars on things that are of interest to parents and can impact how they parent, and that includes the use of technology in the home and the use of social media. So there's a constant effort to reach out to parents to say, hey, Dr. Eisner, Dr. Eduardo Eisner, who's a psychologist that we work with, is doing a presentation this week on social media apps or student use of technology. We also have educational opportunities for parents who might not be as sophisticated with technology to teach them how to use technology in their own homes. So it's a constant educational and outreach effort.
Are there any stories that might come to mind about any social media incidents you've been able to get in front of or avoid by being proactive?
One time at one of our sites, a student made a threat against the school, and the police found it on social media and alerted us in advance. And we worked together with the police and the parents to nip it in the bud in advance. And we had a great relationship with the police. We always have. We are proactive and collaborative with the police department. And it's an example of when you have that kind of relationship, everything can work really well.
Both here and in my previous position, social media hit, it's usually bomb threats. It's when someone says someone's going to shoot up a school, someone's going to cancel school because they're going to blow it up. We work with our law enforcement agency. They also have someone that monitors that level of threat. And so by doing that, we've been able to catch it very early, like within the first 5-10 minutes when it hits. And then we're able to quickly assess whether it's valid or true. And then we're able to use our social media and the social media that person's been using and then insert the accurate information or that it's not true while we also communicate. So it's both been a bomb threat at a high school I was at, and we've had a couple times where elementary schools were going to be shot up the next day. And in reality, it was completely someone just trying to create chaos when there was none there. But the faster we can get onto social media with our own resources, then it allows it to stop that.
I think it was maybe my first month at the district, and I've been here for 2 years now, where there was a situation at one of the schools where a child who was identifying as transgender or transgender curious was being harassed on a social media app. I was there when the principal started her investigation of the situation and called various students in to say, hey, if you knew about this, please let me know. If you were involved in this, please let me know. We need to talk about this. This is not acceptable behavior. I remember very clearly sitting with the student's grandfather, who was very involved in their life, and seeing how crushed and devastated he was because this child had the full support of their family and just wasn't necessarily getting it from their peers. So I think, again, it goes back to the constant need for education, right? Why was that inappropriate behavior, you students who decided to post this unpleasant information online? How can you avoid doing it again? Do you understand the ramifications of what you've done to the child who is involved?
What would your advice be to educators and administrators to work together to create a culture of digital safety and responsibility in their schools?
I would say that it is the responsibility of every member of the school to create a culture of safety and support and belonging at school. Not digital, okay? It's not about digital. It's about creating a culture of safety, support, and belonging all the way around. That includes digital. It includes everything. And that's what we're here to do as human beings. And that's the way we learn the best. If you feel that you don't matter, that people don't like you, and that nobody cares whether you exist, you are not learning at your highest level. You are probably not learning well at all. So it behooves all of us to create a culture of belonging. And that is built through the regular ways that we do that. For example, in our school, we start every day with a community circle, and we do that work with specific curriculum that's around social emotional learning. And that's inclusive of digital content. So it's not just about how you talk to each other on the playground. It's also about that words matter in digital forms too, and in written forms too. And just because older teachers or administrators don't feel comfortable about digital and don't know what Snapchat is or whatever, doesn't mean that we can ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. I don't know what Snapchat is, to tell you the truth, but I do know the kids are on it, so it matters. We can't ignore it.
Some of us that are more veteran need to not run from it. We'd like to just put our head in the sand and say, it won't happen. It's here, and we have to embrace it. We have to be more proficient as ourselves, along with the younger staff that know how to do it. So I think for me, the first thing is to just get over myself and embrace the fact that it's here, and then understand it, understand how we can leverage it, and then realize that it's an everyday thing and keep connected. One of the challenges is just the time to do that. You're trying to run schools, and now you're trying to worry about this whole social media platform piece that absorbs time. So by finding some parents who are trustworthy, a couple staff members who are trustworthy, we can leverage that work out. First thing is for us to embrace the fact that it is real, and we need to do that. We need to handle it.
And I think that goes back to the constant need for education. We just did a multiple hour training on digital threat assessments. We do constant PBIS work in the schools. And, PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention in Sports. It's the framework where you support your students. So again, it goes back to the constant education, constant reinforcement of the positive message, and, quick but kind corrective action when problems do arise.
What are your 1 to 2 biggest social media concerns for the future?
The biggest social media concern that has recently come to light is this idea that people can fake. Like, for example, my daughter could call me and tell me she's in jail in a Mexican prison, and it sounds just like my daughter, but it's not really her. That whole idea that technology has gotten so good that you can have videos that look like your loved ones, and that is horrifying. The idea that the scams have gotten so bad. Have you ever heard of that idea of phishing? So I'm the superintendent, right? And people have been emailed from me saying, oh, can you do me a favor? Drop some money in this account and, whatever, and do this for me. And it wasn't me. Those kinds of things, people have gotten very smart about trying to scam you out of your money.
Being a father of 4 boys, 25 to 18, and watching my kids, my biggest concern is that becomes their whole reality. And that isn't reality, right? Whether it's their perception of themselves, their perceptions of the people around them, that's genuinely my really biggest concern, that it's just another tabloid machine, could be, and how we teach kids to take a grain of salt with all of it, to not take it as the gospel truth from social media. I think that's the biggest thing. That's our biggest worry, that they become educated, skeptical consumers of social media, not just absorb it and take it as the truth.
I was a journalist for 30 years, so I have seen social media evolve during my time as a technology reporter in Silicon Valley and through my time editing a newspaper. And I see how students use it and how it impacts them. And my concerns are the technology is changing so quickly, we can't necessarily keep up with it. Last week, for example, there was a discussion on the California School Public Relations Agency listserv about an app that allows you to create a really graphic and inappropriate image, especially if you're a child. So the discussion was, we have to get our technology department to block access to this app. And whenever that happens, our technology department is on top of it. We've had to block numerous apps from use just because they lead to inappropriate content or inappropriate behavior. So I'd say the fact that technology is changing so quickly is a huge one for us, and trying to inform children that just because they can do something doesn't mean they should. Just because you can use this app to create something that you think is funny doesn't mean you should do it. And so it's the constant reinforcement of think about what you're going to do before you do it.
Funding is difficult across the country. What advice would you give to other districts to secure funding to create resources that parents need?
Well, we just received a large grant for a pre-apprenticeship program with the community colleges. That is a way that we can partner with the community colleges to get our students into paid internships before they go to college, the year before they graduate from high school. And that is an untapped well of money. And we were only one of two in California that were selected for this. But I think there wasn't very many people that applied. And so I think there's a lot of untapped grant funding for things that are more career related. And the technology for those things also are specific to industry and career fields. I think that's a big mission-driven element in our school is career focus.
We actually this year found a way through multiple resources to get a grant writer for us, a full-time, and we're a little district of 3,100 kids. So we've leveraged multiple resources to get an actual grant writer because there are grants out there for different softwares, different staff development on how to use social media, how to use it wisely. And so we use that grant writer to help us find those little pockets of money, small amounts. We've also woven it into our school plans because it is how we communicate. It's not a off the wall thing. So we wove it into our school plans so that a small portion of our LCAP funds are used to help us research, get people taught, use our staff development days to do that wisely. And then we also capitalize with a couple other districts nearby to try to find out what they're doing and then piggyback together if we're using a software or if we're using a filtering system, because we're small. We have to find ways to do that. But we actually made a big investment in the grant writer to help us get those because we were getting them little at a time. And there are some safety stuff out there. We just have to go dig it up, and it's not easy.
The biggest piece of advice I would offer is do what you can to get your parents involved. Do what you can to get your parents involved at the school site level, at the district level, at the county office of education level, and at the state level. If you have parents who are concerned about how funding is being deployed, have them write letters. Ask them to get involved. Ask them to speak to their board of trustees. Nobody can do this alone, right? It takes a concerted effort, and it takes building consensus and gathering your parent troops. Because I see so many parents who are so concerned about their child's education, they don't always know that they have access to the politicians the way other people do. So I think it takes outreach and it takes concerted effort.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.